in order to neutralize the rebels and hopefully eliminate Francis Marion. One of those officers was Lieutenant Colonel Banastre Tarleton. In November of 1780, Marion approached Richardson's plantation, where he knew British troops were encamped. When he learned how large that force was, and that Tarleton was the commander, he chose not to attack, but to flee, and Tarleton gave chase. Some of Marion's men organized an ambush at Benbow's Ferry, and Marion was leading Tarleton toward it. Benbow's Ferry is on the Black River. James relates that Marion pursued a route down Black River for 35 miles through woods, swamps, and bogs, where there were no roads. He encamped the following night at Benbow's Ferry and waited. Now, Tarleton wrote that he pursued Marion, quote, for 7 hours through swamps and defiles, unquote. He rode from Jack's Creek on the Santee, around the miry woodyard, and then eastward across 26 miles of fields, woods, and swamps. And not having so much as a glimpse of Marion's men, he stopped at Ox Swamp on the Black River. And he is supposed to have cried as he looked at his tired horses, his muddy troops, and the roadless bog, "Come, my boys, let us go back and we will find the gamecock. But as for this damned old fox, the devil himself could not catch him." And so Francis Marion became the swamp fox, and so the story goes. After the war, Tarleton returned to England a hero. He spent the rest of his life in service of his king and country. In subsequent wars, he performed admirably and was promoted to general. He stood for Parliament and was returned term after term. He was a very, very popular politician. He was a landowner who was considered kind and fair by his tenants. But he lived a very flamboyant life and was an intimate of the Prince of Wales. And it is said that he shared more than one mistress with the Prince of Wales. Tarleton was made Knight of the Garter. I don't know if those two things are related or not. Tarleton died on January the 16th, 1833. Part of his epitaph reads, "He was a tender husband, an indulgent master, and liberal benefactor of the poor." General Francis Marion also survived the war, and he returned to his plantation, Pond Bluff, which is on the other side of the Santee River, about 8 miles south of Utah Springs. His plantation was in shambles. It had been plundered by friend and foe alike. Buildings were razed, and everything that could be moved had been stolen. Even half his slaves were gone, although some, about 10, had hidden in the area and returned when Marion did. Financially destitute, Marion did not have the money to rebuild. It was even difficult for him to feed those 10 slaves. He was never paid for his service for the militia. He was granted a very modest pension, but soon it was decreased by the legislature of this state, which he had served and possibly saved. He worked to restore his plantation and was finally successful when he married his cousin, Mary Esther Vidot, who had a small fortune. And with her money, he was able to rebuild Pond Bluff. With his plantation viable again, Marion, who was a very capable and conscientious planter, was successful and lived in relative comfort for the rest of his life. He died February the 27th, 1795, and he is buried in the Belle Isle Cemetery, which is on the lower Santee River. Part of his tribute reads, "In commemoration of the noble and disinterested virtues of the citizen and the gallant exploits of the soldier who lived without fear and died without reproach." For tonight's dinner theater encounter between the swamp fox and the man who gave him that name, we are in limbo, or perhaps the guardhouse of heaven, As we know, Bloody Van was never able to meet our hero in our swamp. However, tonight, former Brigadier General Francis Marion, lately a virtuous planter, is about to encounter General Sir Banastre Tarleton, lately a privileged landed gentleman. So please welcome first Dr. Joseph Stukes as the Swamp Fox. And now would you welcome Howard Burnham as the Green Dragoon in The Devil Himself Couldn't.
Thank you. I see that the civility of the natives of Clarendon County has not improved over the passing of time. Who the devil are you, sir?
I was going to ask you, who the devil are you? I've been up here for about 30 years. I've never seen anything look like this before. Except, I remember when I was a soldier. I saw people looking like you. You been a soldier?
Certainly. All my life, sir.
You been any good?
Extremely successful.
You weren't very successful when I knew you.
Well, give an account of yourself. You are the, one of these creatures, the swamp vermin, I take it.
I have been so called that because of my abilities to navigate the swamps. The British. Your name doesn't happen to be Tarleton, does it?
I own it, sir.
Well, well. What are you doing up here instead of being in the other place?
It's a very good
Well, you know, you and your kind came over here to try to take over our country. And we didn't have any soldiers. We like I am. I'm a poor farmer. I believe in a republic. I don't believe in kings. I believe in doing your duty and making your living, and when your country needs you, you turn up for your country.
But I served my country too, sir.
You
And my country should be your country.
Well, you served yourself is what you did. You served yourself. And you know, here I am. You know, I was born this way, with my ankles crooked and my legs crooked. I learned how to farm. I raised corn and potatoes, and then we moved to Georgetown, and I raised some rice, and then I moved back. And when we took care of the Indians, and we did take care of the Indians, then you gaily colored fellas came over here from England. And you trying to tell us that you knew more about how to run our country than we knew how to run our country.
My dear sir, this country was ours in the first place. We settled this country.
You did that, sir.
You owed your allegiance to your sovereign, as I did.
And you talked about liberty, and you talked about people tending to their own affairs, and you would not let us have liberty, and you would not let us live in our own affairs. You lost this country, sir.
The usual Republican claptrap that I've been put all my life listening to this sort of rubbish. And you claim that I am a gentleman, is that right?
No, sir. You claim you are.
I'm most certainly not by birth a gentleman. I'll have you know that my family were in trade. Liverpool merchants. You see in me a self-made man. I achieved my high position and my high honors through my own efforts.
Self-made. The good father would have never made one by himself like you.
I think you're insolent, sir. And all the world knows that you are a drunkard. You talk about your ankles being damaged. I know how you damaged your ankles. You got blind drunk and fell out of a window.
I did indeed one day fall out of a window. We were preparing down in Charleston to send you British packing again. We had done it before. But I, sir, I very rarely tasted strong drink. I did not enjoy the fancy company of Americans who tried to imitate your way of life. And when I tried to escape from that party on the second floor and I leaped down onto the ground, I fell upon these ankles. And as you already evidently know, I broke my leg, and I was unfit for duty to defend my country.
An excuse to slip out of Charleston so he wouldn't give you parole when we took the place.
I never gave my parole, sir.
I know you didn't.
I was never asked, nor would I have given it.
A lot of your people did, and a lot of them then proceeded to break their paroles. I would have met you at Richardson's plantation. I was waiting there in strength for you. And some little snippety gibbet of a parole breaker, the Richardson boy, slips out and gives you warning of my presence.
He was a patriot, sir. He was helping to defend his country against the barbarian types as you were. For it was you who went in and mistreated Mrs. Richardson. It was you who dug up the dead general's body so you could look upon his face. What sort of a ghoul wears that outfit that you wear?
What an extraordinary story. You think that I and the Legion have got nothing better to do with our times than to go around digging up corpses as if we're resurrection men?
You did it, sir.
That's
You did it.
absolutely untrue. There's no profit in it. Where were the medical students we could sell the body to? I ask you that. Certainly not. There's a typical sort of Presbyterian propaganda claptrap put about that little toad Parson Weems. I didn't go digging up corpses. I will admit that I gave Mrs. Richardson a bit of a tongue lashing, and I destroyed all the crops and the animals and the barns.
The work of a true gentleman, I take it. A true gentleman.
Well, I was a little bit pressed after all. It was her little whippersnapper that had warned you of my presence.
And, sir, how were you pressed at the Waxhaws? When Americans surrendered and had their hands raised and had no guns, and you led the charge to kill them, every one.
Oh, that's again a right type of balderdash from you rebels. I offered Buford honourable terms. I wrote to him, "Sir, you are encompassed by 700 light troops. The Earl Cornwallis is in the vicinity with 9 British battalions. I hold out to you terms that were offered to those at the surrender of Charlestown. You're to buy your arms after 1 hour of receiving this flag. If you refuse this, the blood be on your own head." And that oath, Buford replied, "Sir, I will defend myself to the utmost extremity." He then proceeded to hold his fire until my lads were almost on top of him. No time for a second volley. Mind you, that first volley shot my horse from under me.
I've heard that. I rejoice in hearing it.
Aye, and at that point, Buford, who was hightailing it off the field, leaving his men in the lurch, orders his ensign to raise a white flag. Well, understandably, my lads thought their commander had been shot down under a flag of truce, and they went wild. Well, I can't blame
Those
them.
men asked for quarter, sir. Sir, they asked for quarter. And what they got was Tarleton's quarter, which meant massacre.
By the time I found a remount and brought my lads under control, I did give them quarter, some of them who were still left alive.
It is a shame you were unable to control your lads. What an excuse for a commander.
How can
A
you
commander can drink.
How can you control your troops in battle when your horse is shot from under you? Be reasonable, man.
Be reasonable, man. You went there, malice aforethought, sir. And we called it Tarleton's quarter, which meant no quarter at all.
The only trouble, General Marion, is that you rebels turned up a winning hand with the frog eaters at Yorktown and won. And as the hook-nosed fellow of Rome says, "We victis." Woe to the losers. In a war, you need to demonize your enemy. So I was the one chosen for that role. You know, for a time.
Don't flatter yourself to be chosen. You were a demon before we made you a demon.
Nonsense. For a while I was the most hated man in America. Until Benedict Arnold usurped that honor from me.
And so it was you, sir, who leading your troops, leading your horsemen, stealing the horsemen of the Americans, stealing our way of life, stealing our viands and our foods, burning our houses, destroying our churches. A gentleman you were you?
I did no more than discriminate with severity. I answered like with like. Strikes me that sauce for the goose is not sauce for the gander over here.
I am neither goose nor gander. I destroyed no church. I burned no house. I fought by accepted ways. When I needed equipment and when I needed horses, I took them and gave receipts for them. I did not take them and plan to keep them and call them the spoils of war. You, sir, did that.
Many of your rebel commanders spoiled the property of loyalists.
Yes, they were our enemies.
With no reparation. Well, you were our enemies. Why shouldn't we spoil you? As I say, sauce for the goose is sauce for the gander, but not here in America. Oh, no.
Oh,
If an outrage is performed by our side, it is an outrage. But if it's performed by your side, it's just patriotic fervor.
it is our cities that were destroyed. It is our countryside that was destroyed. And you, sir, are one of the great of the destroyers. You, sir, destruction. I ask you again, what are you doing in this place? I think you've taken the wrong direction.
No, certainly not. Look at my record in England. I was a highly successful, admired landlord. My tenants had no cause to complain. I served my king and my country all of my career and raised myself to the rank of a full general. I have a little bit more respect from you. You're only a brigadier general.
But, sir, I'm a citizen. It seems to me that I remember that you came from a rich family in Liverpool. It seems to me that your family bought you a commission into the army. It seems to me when you first came over to this country, you met with one defeat after another. And then you met with a very lucky instance when you captured one of our generals. Sir, the pathway to generalship is sometimes difficult, especially for those of us who are nothing but poor farmers, until we are called upon by the laws of nature and morality to defend ourselves.
Morality, that biased cant and humbug that you Americans come out with all the time.
All right. Morality, sir, is the law for those of us who think in high terms, those of us who would live together in peace, those of us who would restore one another and honor one another, those of us who practice integrity, not those who come to foreign countries and steal and plunder and murder and call it
not a foreign country, it was our country.
You need, sir, to have read in 1776 the declaration that separated us. You are no longer our country. We pledged at the time that we would fight, even unto the death, in our sacred honor. Did you not read it, sir? Are you uninformed, sir?
That piece of claptrap of Mr. Jefferson and those self-seeking hypocrites in Philadelphia. Load of rubbish, that.
General,
would remind you, sir, of the aphorism of the great Dr. Johnson. Patriotism is the last refuge of a scoundrel.
And so it was patriotism that brought you here, scoundrel?
You lot that are vaunting your patriotism all the time. It's patriot this, patriot that.
It seems to me that I remember, sir, that finally, when our General Washington and his French allies finally pinned the British forces, including yourself and your commander, Cornwallis, into the area along the Atlantic coast in Virginia, and time came to surrender, It seems to me that General Cornwallis in Yorktown surrendered, and you, sir, in Gloucester, did the same. Is that correct, sir?
I obeyed the orders of my superior. I did.
And as a true general, sir, you were a prisoner of war.
I gave my parole.
Were you at all, sir, fearful of your life?
I was, that. Aye.
Yes.
If I had not moved from my tent, I would have been murdered in the night.
And how many men, sir, attempted to murder you?
I have no idea. But I do remember one occasion I was riding down a Yorktown street on a horse I'd earlier commandeered when its owner's servant accosts me. A nasty little puppy now, bald as brass with Yankee swagger. Morning, Colonel Tarleton. This here horse is my horse. Do you smell it? The devil I will, says I, clapping my hand to my sword. But the little puck has a large crowd with him who fan out all around me. And he takes a sweet gum stick out of his belt. Well, what is it that Fat Jack Falstaff says? Discretion is the better part of valor. Well, discretion were my tutor that day. I sprang off that saddle like a scalded schoolboy to the derisive hoots and jeers of the American crowd. However, who should come by at that moment but my old friend to be, Louis de Ganton, Duke of Lausanne. Mon Dieu! C'est le colonel Tarleton! Gaston! Lends the colonel your horse! My dear Tarleton! I am delighted to make your acquaintance. The last time we met, I tried to kill you. But I possess a horse of yours that you lost on that occasion. I'd be only too happy to return it to you. And you would do me a great honor if you would join me in my tent in the cavalry lines tonight. L'honneur serait la mienne, Monsieur le Duc, says I, bright as a button. Oxford may not have taught me much, but it gave me more than a smattering of frog talk. That did the business for me. Lausanne and I were the best of friends. Overlooking the fact we tried to murder each other on our first encounter. Now, he was a gentleman, unlike some of you so-called American patriots who tried to murder me in my bed after I'd surrendered.
And, sir, and it seems to me that you sought to be entitled a sir.
Aye.
Sir, you say you commandeered the horse.
Aye.
'Tis military claptrap, sir. You stole the horse.
I did not.
And you were owed the horse.
I did.
And you knew in your heart that you had taken the horse. And so you dismounted. Not of fear, for you're a general, sir. Are you afraid?
I wasn't a general at that point in my career.
You were still a soldier, and a red-coated soldier.
I was actually wearing a green
And you
coat
were
on
a
that
vain
occasion.
popinjay, as you are right now, sir.
Popinjay?
Yes, and vain and self-centered and concerned about yourself. When the war was over, sir, I returned to my farm. My country had no more need of me. I had spent 3 years, and I returned to Pond Bluff, a few miles north of Charleston. And I found it destroyed. I found that my house was burned, my fields were plundered, my slaves were taken away, my stock was gone. That's what it cost me in the Revolutionary War. And I tried to restore my fortunes with my 10 slaves who remained. And I had a difficult time. So what did you do when the war was over?
Well, I returned to England, where they were in need of a hero, and I fitted the bill.
Yes.
When I reached Liverpool, I was greeted by a crowd of 20,000. Men pulled the horses from my carriage and pulled the carriage through the streets. Fireworks, bonfires, bells ringing. My mother commissioned Sir Sloshua Reynolds, the chief dauber of the day, to immortalize me in oils, which I flatter myself he did rather effectively. It was in his studios that I met pretty little Mary, quite contrary, Perdita Robinson. And I became the lover, sighing like a furnace with a woeful ballad made to me mistress I.
And sir, that's the way you served your country when the war was over. You told them you were the hero. You played the role of a hero. And you took the company of Miss Perdita.
Perdita, aye.
Yes.
She's a very handsome lass.
Yes, the way one serves one country.
I had served my country.
Yes.
When my successes were reported in the London Gazette Extraordinary, in London I was referred to as Fight and Conquer Tarleton. Mother were proud.
Sir, when our war was over and we were attempting to build the nation that was our dream, a republic where free men could live, all equal, only separated by ability, not by blood, not by heritage. The people returned me on every occasion to the local legislature. And sir, I understand that you were in Parliament. Did you sometimes lose in your races?
What?
First. Did you ever lose again, sir?
No. I returned 7 times as the honourable and gallant member for Liverpool.
Honourable.
And gallant.
Yes.
Which is the style of a serving officer, which I was, sir.
The man who murdered surrendering men.
Why did
The man who destroyed the land just for the enjoyment of destroying the land. And those who had the nerve to attempt to catch me in my swamp when it was not their swamp. What a foolhardy thing for a military man to try.
Well, very well indeed it did catch you. Here,
Very nearly doesn't count in war, sir.
some victuals for you, General. You tell us that fairy story about feeding sweet potatoes to a British officer.
Yes, sir. The sweet potatoes was one of the best of the meals that we had. I could have given him some vinegar. That's what my soldiers usually took. It was the way we kept ourselves going. Make no fun of the yam, sir. The yam is better than Yorkshire pudding when you decide who won the war.
Strikes me you're a bit of an old yam yourself.
I'm honored by such a comment from you, sir.
Thank you.
I am honored, sir. Sir, it seems to me that up here, when I do not hear the news so much, there was a Napoleon who threatened the British Empire or the tatters that was left.
That's right.
And I am sure that you were in the forefront in destroying Napoleon.
Well, I certainly did my bit. The problem was that I was in the wrong place at the wrong time. I was commander-in-chief in Portugal before there was any fighting in Portugal.
And so you say, sir, it was only fate. It was not your own pomposity and the fact that your superior officers recognized your inabilities.
Certainly not. I was then transferred to Ireland. And you can tell me that was a difficult posting, but when I was in Portugal, I developed a nice taste for a nice drop of porter. You're a very good officer. Oh! Damn it! Oh! Pox of this gout! Or a gout of this pox. One or other of them plays the devil with me big toe. I'd better take me medicine, because Lady Susan, my wife, will be after me if I don't. Yeah, what we got to... Oh, it's Dr. Penniman's mixture. I wonder what's in it. Eye of Newton, toe of frog, third of button, tongue of dog, I shouldn't wonder.
Sir, my own infirmities have come to curse me in my older age. They were not brought on by port, sir. They were not treated with daily doses of what passes as medicines and panaceas. And no, sir. I worked as hard as I could to restore my plantation at Pond Bluff. I lived next door to my brother and his son, and they lived in Belle Isle. I was unable to make it. I was living alone. I had never married. And so, when my nephew said to me one time that one of our cousins, Esther Vidot, occasionally brightened when she heard my name, and she definitely brightened when we were in the same room, and he suggested that perhaps Esther Vidot and I might make some sort of alliance. And so I went a-courting, sir, only to one woman, sir, and we married, and we have lived a good life for 9 years.
Well, congratulations.
Yes.
Now
Yes,
then,
sir.
will you get some of Dr. Penniman's compound for your ankles? Would you care to try some?
Thank you. No, the corn squeezings will do the job.
You lack the courage. Now, I will give you an example of real courage. I will now take Dr. Penniman's compound. Cavalry, will advance. Draw sabers. Walk, march. Trot. Sound! Definitely Eye of Newt.
Sir, no wonder we Americans, untrained as we were, won the war.
Well, sir, and what reward did you get from it? A meagre pension from an ungrateful state, I understand.
I asked for no pension, sir. And what was given to me was given to me by the state with no prompting for myself, and it was a job. And I was to direct a Fort Johnson down near Charleston. And the compensation was to be 500 pounds a year because our country was beginning and had no money. It was reduced to $500 per share. And, sir, it was rarely paid, and I never requested it. I thought it was my duty as a citizen to serve my country, and that I did. And then it was my duty to take care of myself and my wife, and I did.
Well, then your wife took care of you.
As a matter of fact, my wife came with a considerable dowry of her own.
Aye.
She had land, she had slaves, and we rented those slaves out, and we had income from that. We prepared a house, not the mansion that we had had once before in my time, but a modest dwelling, fitful for those who live in a republic, for those who think that equality is much more important than inherited breeding, sir. Your pedigree is offensive to Americans.
But I have no pedigree. I was the second son of a merchant family. I had to achieve my high position by my own efforts.
Your modesty betrays you, sir.
In 1815, when Boney was finally packed off to St. Helena and they were dishing out honours by the bucketful, I got nothing. Absolutely nothing. And I had given 2 fingers for my king and country. So, I complained to Lord Bathurst, the Secretary at War, but that poxy pen pusher just blandly shrugged his shoulders. So, I laid my complaint before Freddie York at Horse Guards. Duke of York did the best he could for me, but the best he could come up with was a baronetcy, an hereditary knighthood that does not give access to the House of Lords. However, in 1820, when my former friend, the Prince of Wales, became King George IV, he remembered me and created me a Knight's Grand Cross of the Order of the Bath. Not the Garter, as somebody said.
Yes.
And I must say that gave me more satisfaction than the knighthood.
I recognize the fact, sir, that you had to work very, very hard to be recognized in your own country and in your baronetcy. In our country, I did not ask to be recognized, but I was recognized. And when the state legislature attempted to pass a law that said that all of us who had been in command during the war were now free from any litigation from those who might decide to sue us to gain once more property which they claimed that we had taken, I move that my name be stricken from the list. For if I had ever taken anything from anyone, I was personally prepared to repay. It is not a matter of seeking, sir, what honors your country can belatedly spend upon you. It is a matter of how you can serve your country, regardless of your age and regardless of your health and regardless of your capacities. Sir, the great difference is those who seek from their country and those who give to their country. But, sir, you say that now you are among the ranks of the poor. Well, so am I. Maybe together, sir, we have something in common. maybe I can welcome you to this place. Come, let us go together.
Thank you, General.
Good.
I think most people want to escape to the nearest pub. However, should anybody wish to throw any questions at us, we're at your disposal.
That means if you've got a question, ask him.
Always the plain speaker.
Generals, I have one. You have occasionally adverted to and otherwise avoided one thing you very much had in common, and that is that both of you were fighting in a common cause in one sense for the preservation of human slavery, of which you both benefited. You, sir, as a plantation owner and owner of slaves. You, sir, as the inheritor of the wealth accumulated through the trade of slaves.
That's right.
Would you both comment on this and how you square this with your freedom, equality, and honor?
Well, I was about to raise that particular point tonight. Loudest cries for liberty coming out of slave drivers like this fellow, but it's a little bit delicate for me, you see, because I come from Liverpool. And the fortune of Liverpool is based on black ivory. Do you know, as a politician, I was actually a Whig in England. The only time I crossed the floor to vote with the Tories was on the slavery issue. I endeavoured to silence Mr. Wilberforce and Mr. Clarkson and the namby-pamby abolitionists. But unfortunately, 1806, the trade was abolished, and the latest I've just heard, General Marion, you'll find this interesting, latest I heard just before I died is that the present Parliament is going to abolish slavery in the British Empire in this year of grace, 1833. If we still ruled America, that would put the cat amongst the pigeons.
As a matter of fact, in America, the emancipation of slaves was not an issue in the Revolutionary War. To those of us who had the slaves, we fought for liberty and our way of life. We fought to have a government where we ourselves could control ourselves. But I do understand, Sir Tarleton, Sir Banastre, I do understand that in the government document which the United States finally derived in 1788 and in 1789, we did take a step in that direction, for we forbade the importation of slaves after the year 1808. And so, in that case, in that instance, sir, we are ahead of the British Empire.
No, you're not. You're not. We abolished the slave trade in 1806.
There he goes again.
It's true. It's true. At least that's 1 point for me. Only one. There's one allow me one. Thank you. Thank you.
Sir, who was the most famous of your wives?
I only had one wife. Priscilla Susan Bertie. She was the natural daughter of my old pal, Bobby Ancaster, 4th Duke of Ancaster. Only trouble was that Susan's mother wasn't Bobby's wife. She was born the wrong side of the blanket. Still, Bobby did his duty by the pretty little bastard. Sorry, pretty little illegitimate person. He died in the first year of Susan's life as a result of overheating himself in a running race and then cooling himself down with 6 bottles of claret and champagne. Even by my standard, that's overdoing it. Still, Susan, I always call Lady Tarleton Lady Susan because she should have had that honour in childhood as a courtesy title, but of course, being a bastard, she didn't have it. But I call her Lady Susan, and I'm very fond of her, except for when we moved to Lightwoodine, she started to get very religious, and she threatened to put my entire stock of port wine into the lake. Until I told her, if you did so, all the carp and trout would be drunk as lords. She She's a champion lass, is my Susan. And you've got a lovely wife too, I understand.
I had a lovely wife. She was a cousin of mine, and as I explained to you before, other cousins prompted us to find one another. I was 55 and she was 49 when we married. We had no children. We had a marriage that was good enough. In our dreams of having a child, we finally adopted a nephew whose name was Dwight. And we adopted him on the principle and on the understanding that he would change his name to Marion. And as our adopted son, then his heirs would perpetuate the name Marion. And so we arranged, and so we did. Alas, he married twice, and during the 2 marriages he had 2 children, and both were girls. And so my